Yes, I am Keshia Major, the owner of Journey to Greatness, where I inspire individuals not to just survive, but to thrive. So just thrive comes in so I can bring in individuals that have adapted the concept of or the principles of thriving in their life in every area. And so we're going to get started in just a few minutes. We're going to allow others to come in and join us. But don't forget that Just Thrive is on Tuesdays at 7:30, and Thriving Thursdays is on Just Thrive is on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. and Thriving Thursdays is on Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. right here on Journey to Greatness 2911. So with that being said, it is playoff time. Yes, it's playoff times, and I've probably caught maybe one game. I have been super tired and super busy. It is track season for my son, and anybody that knows track or have dealt with track meets know that it can take a lot out of you. I am super proud of him though, because he is excelling. Anybody that knows him knows that football is his number one sport, and so he runs track so he can get ready for the football season. But it is a lot. He is doing so well in his track season. His team, he's on the relay team 4x200 and 4x400. His 4x200 this past Saturday just ran the number 3 time ever in school history. And so there are a couple of more track meets left, so they are in good standing for beating the all-time school record. It's about a 1.5 seconds difference. I think that's how it is for track. A 1.5 seconds difference. That's what they ran on Saturday, which they got first place on the 4x200 and the 4x400. So it is exciting. I'm not sure if they will beat the school record for the 4x400. I think that's about a 5 to 7 second difference. It's possible. There are still several track meets left, 2 regular track meets, and then it starts counties, regionals, and states. So we are going to, I just wanted to invite you. You're already on. I wanted to thank you for joining, those that are new to the broadcast as well as those that are the returning guests. Thank you for joining. This is an interactive show, so you can hit the thumbs up, the hearts, the laughs. You can type in the comments, any questions that you have, as well as any comments that you might have for myself or the guests that come on today. And so while we wait for them to join, I'm going to do a watch party on my personal page to invite my family and friends, and I encourage you to do the same as well. So let's see. Let me go to my do a watch party so my friends and family can watch that. And those that are on the broadcast, please know that I go back and look at the questions, and our guests can go back and look at the questions, so we do not leave you out for the rebroadcast. It's just not live. So let me go in and do a watch party if it's going to come up. Okay. Do a watch party. And I'm going to turn this mute off because we don't want them to hear that. So let me go in and see if we have if our guest has joined. Request to be. Okay. They should be able to join now as soon as that they are on. I'm not seeing any guests logged on yet, but if you are on, our guests, please let me know because I haven't seen you yet. But until then, we will go ahead and I will continue to talk to you. And so I did announce last Thursday that this Thursday we will not be having Thriving Thursdays. It is spring break, and so I want to spend time with friends and family and, things like that. And I let you know that I'm getting some cosmetic things. So yes, at 40, I am going to finally get my braces done. And so I need time to I need time to adjust to that before I come on here and try to have conversations with you. So we are going to, we're going to do that. So our guests are coming on. I'm going to go ahead and invite them, approve them to come in onto camera. And it says that it's adding our guests, which is Herman and Shineka Dixon. They are my sister and brother-in-law, but they are also they are the pastor and co-pastor of Bethel Worship Center, Chesapeake, Virginia. Yes, they are. Hello. We see you on the camera. It has finally worked. This is our third broadcast? Fourth broadcast? I'm not sure, but it hasn't been working before, and it's working today. So let me know that. Can I hear you?
Yes.
I can't hear you because I don't have my earphones on.
Okay.
I'm going to have to take the mic out today because I can't. Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
I can hear you now. I left my earphones upstairs, so that's why I couldn't hear you because the mic was in and I didn't have my earphones connected to you. Sorry about that, guys, but we are on and we're live. Welcome, sister and favorite brother-in-law in the whole wide world. He used to tell me that he's a favorite brother-in-law in the whole wide world right now. That's because he's the only brother-in-law. And then it was a favorite brother-in-law on my mom and dad's side. So,
right.
He went through the rigorous process. He was not always the favorite brother-in-law. He got the cold shoulder like everybody else does. All my guests have told you about my personality, and he went through the process, but now he has, for several years now, have been my favorite brother-in-law in the whole wide world, and this is my sister.
Yeah.
I was always your favorite. You just said, even when you didn't know it.
I had to get to that point. You had to warm my heart and make me open to the possibility of you being my favorite brother-in-law. So, with that being said, thank you for joining and being my guest today.
Absolutely.
Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us who you are and just give us your story.
All right. So, you want to get started, honey?
Yes, I am her brother-in-law, her favorite.
The favorite.
Yes. That's about all I want to claim right now. No, we're the pastors of Bethel Worship Center. We've started several different things. We're the pastor of Bethel Worship Center. We are the founders of a ministry we call Marriage God's Way. And so we coach together. I coach basketball, she coached track, and we've actually coached track together. So we traveled and done marriage ministry, different things like that. So we're very busy.
So this is Herman Dixon, and I'm Shineka Dixon. And just in case, nobody knows who we are, because he certainly didn't say our name.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
So does that cover, who we are?
Yes, it covers who we are. So, welcome. Thank you, Shineka and Herman Dixon, or is it supposed to be the man first? Herman and Shineka Dixon, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Right.
Tell us how you met. Tell us a little bit about who Herman and Shineka Dixon is outside of being pastors, outside of being track coaches and football coaches. How did you get to where you are today?
So how we met, that is controversial, I would say. We both actually met, we were in church, and we had a lot of college friends, and people that we were really close to. And he tends to say a different story, but I was in church and I noticed him. And I just began to pray about whether we should be together. We went to a college ministry retreat, and that's where we felt, both of us actually felt like we were supposed to be together. We had been praying about who the next person was that we dated would be our mate. And so we finally came to the conclusion after some time that it was the Lord's will for us to be together. So we decided to go from there. Now, his version is probably going to be totally different.
Yeah, it's totally different. I mean, I don't know if you got time for it, but it's totally different. We were going to do, some friends of ours were going to ask us to do a challenge. So we were going to do a challenge and tell how we actually met. She told the rated G version. It was a good version, but she told that one. You know, it's good to have a woman of God to clean things up. But this is how we actually met. I'm going to tell the BC version, the before Christ version. The way we actually met was, we were in college. We met twice, actually, and one time didn't even know it. So it was midterms, right? I'm in the library at North Carolina A&T State University. It's midterms, and this is what actually happened. I'm walking, I got binders, everything like that. I don't know what happened, but I slipped and I fell. I fell down 2 flights of stairs.
No, you know, I fell last week. That's why we're related.
Books went up everywhere, and it was during the time we had loose leaf books. Books fell everywhere, all that other good stuff. And yeah, I fell in the lobby at A&T, the library. And when I fell, I looked up, and there she was, along with several other people. And she was one of the only ones, there were about 3 people who weren't laughing. I don't know if she laughed later, but she didn't laugh that time. And so, and anyway, you know, I can always tell the story and say, I fell for you, but really that didn't. So later, I saw her again a little while later, and I was like, oh, that's that girl. And I didn't know the answer to a question, and we were both RAs. And so I asked her the question, and she got smart with me.
Yeah, about that.
Is that surprising to those that know her?
Yeah, she got smart with me. And so at that time, I was a little cocky, and I said, well, you'll be wanting to have my babies later. Like, I just thought about it, and I just said it. It was a smart remark. And I don't even know if she heard me. No. But several years later, we have children together. We're married, all the other stuff. That was before Christ. So for me, anyway. And then I got saved. I was in church. And one day, I didn't talk to her again after that for a while. But I got saved. I was in church. I was setting up some microphones, right?
Oh, gosh. Here we go.
And when I was setting up the microphones, mic up, mic down, all of a sudden, Keshia, my behind got hot. My booty got hot. And I was like, why is my booty so hot? And I turned around, and she was looking at my behind, Keshia. We were in church, and this girl is staring at me. She is staring at my behind. And so I'm like, why is this sister staring at the goods like that? And so, I finished setting up the mics, and, I spoke to her. And I was like, oh, that's the girl that got smart with me. And pretty much we've been together ever since that day. Yep.
So we actually dated for about 2 years. We knew when we were getting together that we were going to get married. And so we went through a long engagement period.
Because she was checking me out.
And then, you see what I deal with? I've been dealing with this for 20 years. This year makes 20 years for us.
Yes.
So through everything, yay. Through everything that we've been going through, we've had children, grandchildren, we've done ministry together. Like you said, we've coached together, we've done school together. We pretty much do everything together. And I think the biggest thing that we've seen is like our parents walking through marriage and us being able to see that. And that's been helpful, not just with our parents, but with other couples. One of our favorite couples is celebrating, I think they're in their 60s in the years of marriage now. So I think it's close to 60. It's over 60. I want to say it's like 62, 63 years of marriage. And so those are like our role models when it comes to being married anyway.
Yeah, we've had several of those. I mean, coming from a situation where, growing up with a single parent, and all the other good stuff, God has really blessed us to see, I know at least me, to see a lot of good male role models coming up. And so I even try to be one now to the people. So.
Yeah. Excellent. So
and she still checks me out.
I think I like your story better, Herman. I like that story better. She was looking at his butt in church, and that's how he noticed her. His butt was on fire. It wasn't on fire.
It was on fire.
It was on fire because she was burning a
Holy Ghost fire.
So y'all, it's been 20 years that y'all been together, right? So one key thing that you have said in your marriage is that you have surrounded yourself around others that have succeeded in their marriage. Those that have gone before you. Herman, you came from a single family home. Shineka, you came from parents that just celebrated 45 years. Is it 45? 46? 45 years. On Saturday. And so you both came from two different backgrounds, and statistically, coming from different backgrounds, you don't make it. But you all have surrounded yourself around the people that will help you succeed and give you the tools to help you succeed. I'm pretty sure in your marriage, it hasn't always been roses. You've had to go through some obstacles. You've had some days that that you've been mad at each other, that you didn't always agree on everything. You said that you're always together, so that means that you had to work out some things to always be together and to enjoy each other. And so with that, you can go in and lead to what was one of the hardest times that y'all have had to deal with, since we're talking about, your marriage and stuff like that. Did y'all say, if you haven't said already, when you go, before you answer the next question, make sure you say where you graduated from and stuff like that, so you can give props to your degrees, and as well as what was the hardest thing that y'all had to deal with as a couple, and how were you able to overcome it?
Well, that was a lot. Well, well, you can tell them where you graduated from.
Really? I'm allowed?
Yes.
Thank you for giving me permission
You're
to
welcome.
speak. So, I actually graduated from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University.
You're proud.
In architectural engineering. That's what I have my bachelor's in. And then I went to Bethel College, and I started in seminary and getting some classes under Christian development. And then I actually went to Liberty University and got my master's in professional counseling, specializing in coaching and executive development. So my list is pretty short, but when he gets started, I hope y'all have some time.
I'm not going to do all that.
Before he does his list, I have to give y'all a key story about one of her schools. So we're going to let the people know about this, how you gave me shade, just like you gave your husband shade. So that she's not partial to who she gives the shade to. Let me tell you. So we took her to school, to North Carolina A&T, and I'm just loving the campus. I'm loving the school. We go to the games, to show support, because my parents, you met them last week. They're kind of protective, but they're also very supportive. So they took us to the games. We went. I said, yes, I am going to this school. Let me tell you, when it was time for me to graduate and pick a school, they told me that I couldn't go to that school, that she had now became saved, and it was the devil school, and I could not go there. And then my parents listened to her and said, you know what? I think that it would be good that y'all stay here your first 2 years and go to school because you can get your education, the
I did
same
not know
education
that.
here as you can go anywhere. And so because of her, we had to stay home the first 2 years, and she forbidden me from going to North Carolina A&T because it was the devil school. But years later, they've been saved because guess who was at A&T? Their son. It's no longer the devil school anymore. Their son can go to North Carolina A&T, but her sister couldn't go to North Carolina A&T. I just wanted to put that bit of information of the shade that she gave me, but it's okay. I still turned out magnificent no matter what school I went to. So
super
you go ahead,
splendiferous.
Herman. You tell the story.
Well, you're super splendiferous. Look, I'm telling you, you were baptized in awesomeness.
I'm about to get off of this live recording. I'm just letting both of y'all know.
Yeah, but yeah, I graduated from North Carolina A&T too, and so yeah, that's pretty much.
Aggie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Micah's doing chemical engineering right now.
He's doing very well.
He's doing very well. Let me see.
So your schools, you're not just going to stop with A&T, sir.
All right. So besides being in the military, I went to A&T and I majored in science. And then I'll do it. I went to A&T. I majored in biology and chemistry, had a minor in biopsychology and psychology from UNCG. Then I went to Liberty University and got a master's in divinity. And then I got a certificate in Christian leadership. And now I'm working on a doctorate in leadership. There. Are you fine now?
Yes, I'm
Thank
fine.
you. I love you, honey. Yeah, we normally, like when it comes to marriage and things like that, we have a good time. We generally we found out early that the best way to be married is to let your single life die and to just love each other. And we always give couples just one bit of advice, and that is when it comes to marriage, it's not about who's right, it's about what's right. And so whenever there's a disagreement between the two of us, it's me and her against the argument, not me and her against each other. You know what I mean?
That's good.
Yeah, so true story. We had some people one time that we were dealing with, and we asked them for permission to share the story because it helps. They came home one day, and there was a snake in their house, and literally a little snake, and it was in the basement. And they called us because they got into an argument about who let the snake in. And so she had that look on her.
Not who's going to get the snake out, but who let it in. Okay.
Yeah, who let the door open. And so they were arguing and everything like that. And so finally my wife just had an epiphany. She said, you do realize that the snake is still downstairs, right? And she said, so instead of arguing with each other, get the snake out. And so from that moment on, we kind of began to use arguments that way, where it was me and her against the snake that got in, not me and her against each other. And so the whole thing was trying to figure out who get the snake out. So we generally don't argue, call each other names, all that other stuff, whatever. And because you're a part of the family, when we're all in the room, you can't tell my side of the family from her side of the family from whoever, you know what I mean? And so we just believe in family, so.
Yeah, so the other part of your question was, what's the hardest thing that we've walked through?
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that question. I was beating
and how, we've gotten through it. Excuse me. So I think that we've walked through a lot of tough times. And I think the fact that we're still together and still enjoying one another speaks volumes. There's several things that we've walked through. I think the hardest time of our life was the end of 2013 going into 2014. In 2013, just before Thanksgiving, Herman's aunt passed, and it was an all of a sudden type thing, and no one was expecting it. And then, so we walked through that. That was really tough on the family. And then shortly after that, our son passed away, our oldest son passed away. And that was probably the most devastating thing that's ever happened in our life. And we'll get back to that in a second, but just to paint a picture for you, after he passed, within a few weeks, we had a cousin and aunt that passed away. And then shortly after that, we had an uncle that passed away. And so that end of that year was hard on our family, but also for the two of us, we walked through church members earlier in 2013 that had passed. It was 2 or 3 of them that had passed away. And so that 2013 into 14 time frame was really, really, really hard for us. We were told just building a house could tear a family apart, and a lot of couples don't always get through the building process of a house. And we watched how we just didn't understand how it could tear you apart when you're working together. But going through the loss of a child is also something that we were told that people typically do not get through as a couple. So each of us individually had to walk through it in our own way. And 5 years later, we're still walking through it in our own way, but we also walk through it together. For me, the most important thing is having that support system. There's so many people that they try to do it on their own, or they don't feel like they should tell anybody about it, or people are going to think of them any differently. But it's really important for you. What I tell people is when you walk through, no matter
can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
It had paused. So when you walk through something, one, it's important to talk. Find someone or a counselor or somebody that you can talk with, and someone that you can trust, that's not going to just take your information and blurt it everywhere else, but that you're able to talk to and tell them about what's going on with you. And it's also important to be able to laugh when you want to laugh. And it's important to be able to cry when you want to cry. And whatever emotion that you're dealing with, that it's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with feeling how you're feeling. There's nothing wrong with going through how you're going through. Everybody goes through situations in different ways. And different people breathe and walk through situations at different times. So you can't walk up to someone and say, oh, that person's been gone for this amount of time, you should be over it. You know, you have to know for yourself how to walk through the situation with others. And that's not clear. There's no book on how to walk through. Like, they have, you know, grieving things and grieving groups and things like that that people can go to, but they're not talking about your individual life. Right. And so it's important for you to know that no matter what you're dealing with, that it's okay to feel that way, whether it's being angry at God for a moment, whether it's questioning why, whatever it is, that you walk through the process and that you don't get stuck. There's a scripture in Psalms that says, yea, though I walk through the valley. It doesn't say that you're going to get stuck there, but you're walking through situations, you're walking through dark places, and as you're walking through them, understand and know that God is with us. And so for us, I know that a lot of people challenge their faith and a lot of people question God. And even though that's something that we do, it was our faith and the peace of God that helped me to walk through the situation. And so I know I'm kind of talking in more than I have been, but when I go through stuff, for me, it helped me to understand that what I had been living all of this time was for real, because I have always depended on God, and in that time when I needed Him most, I never wavered. I never started thinking other ways. I may have asked questions, I may have, gotten upset, but it wasn't a change in my faith. And I just knew that this is a part of life that we have to walk through. So how I walked through it was the support of others, prayer, depending on help from the Lord. And what comforted me was also being able to comfort those who had been walking through the same thing. It was a child, but we also hurt when other people were hurting in the same manner. So yeah. How about you, honey?
Well, with me, it was a little bit different. And actually, being a pastor, that year was probably other than 1990, 91 was the roughest year of my life. And what happened was 1990, 91, I went to the Gulf War. In 2013, between 2013, January 2013 and February of 2015, 14, I think I went to 14 to 16 funerals. And one of them was a guy who I watched his, I went to see him get a surgery, wound up watching his heart stop beating 15 times by the time I got back, and literally his wife couldn't call it. And as a pastor, I had to make the call, whether to let him go. And he was a friend of mine. And it started a process in me that I think, the Lord had to finish from when I was younger. And, my testimony is, a lot that when I got saved because I, rededicated my life to the Lord, because after the Gulf War, I couldn't find any peace. And so I would go to the first service, so that I could find enough peace to be a church service, so that I can find enough peace to be able to go to sleep during the second. And so I would fall asleep in church. So I don't get offended when people fall asleep in church, because I have no idea why they're doing it. You know what I mean? It may not be that I'm the boring preacher in the world. It may just be that they have no peace, And so, in any case, by the time Darius had passed, it was such a hard thing for me, because it was like one thing after another. And being in the military, you're taught to just kind of tuck, and when things go on, you see the battle, and then you worry about the fallout later. And so over the last few years, even up until last year, it had been one thing after another. And we helped other people get through it. But I realized that sometimes as a pastor, you can help other people get through it and you not really go through it yourself. And so after the calm and everything else had calmed down, I started going through all of it at one time. And, I haven't even told a lot of people that, that's why being married to, I'm tapping her on the leg, a great person who is really, beneficial, because sometimes we do things and we help everybody else, but then we forget about ourselves. And so I did that. Just imagine, you're watching your son run, Micah and Darius, and, have done several Junior Olympics, several national championships. So imagine watching your son 1 minute after you've gone through all that, you finally get a break and you get some peace, and you watch your son run and he wins 2 national championships, a state championship, 2 national championships. The day after you watch him graduate from high school, you send him off to college, and you say, well, he has a track meet, and so you can't make it, his track meet in college, and you say, well, this is the one before the break, so when I pick you up in a couple of days, we'll watch the video together, and then I'll go with the first one that you have. And, we generally don't try to miss our kids' events. But the day that I was supposed to have been picking him up, I was picking his stuff up from the funeral home. And so I had to watch, even Micah. And Micah has probably to be one of the strongest people I know. And it was amazing to watch him at 13 go through all that. And just to watch my wife and to watch the family and everything like that. So we all went through it, and, we prayed together, we cried together. Fast forward a few years later, my mom passed after that, and I don't know, and even now, still dealing with some of that, I saw a picture like in my mind of me, and I couldn't believe it. My brother and I preached my mother's funeral, and, just things like that. And you never really know how strong you are until you have no other choice but to be. Greatness, you think about a journey to greatness, but a lot of people, they want greatness, but they don't want the what it takes to actually be great. Greatness is not just the destination, it's the whole thing, it's the journey. It's the push-ups, it's the sit-ups, the tears, it's the sweat. While everybody else is watching TV, you're reading books on how to do this or how to do that. You're running, you're doing whatever it is you're doing. You're praying, you're preaching, you're traveling, and so it's tiring. And, and a lot of people don't really understand that. And so we covered each other. We prayed, we cried, we listened to each other. You know, there were days when I don't think I've ever questioned God, but I got to be honest, I did question me. And, you know, trials come to make you test, you know, and they test everything, what you're really made of. You know what I mean? And so, you know, through prayer, we found it, you know, and we found each other. This lady right here, let me say this. I love her. I joke about her and say, you know, she was baptized in beauty, you know, or whatever, and simpered in hallelujah, and, you know, and all that other stuff. And, you know, and, you know, and I joke about it, but she has been there with me through everything. You know, I can remember being sick with pneumonia and, you know, down for 3 months. And she actually carried the church and she preached and she prayed. And, you know, I can remember, you know, I mean, not even barely being able to walk. And, you know, and I'm 6'1", 200, you know, 20, 30, 40 pounds. And, you know, she's not that at all. And I can remember she carry me, you know, even to use the bathroom, you know what I mean, from being sick. But, you know, God, and that's the thing about marriage, you marry people because you see what God sees in them. And, you know, and she saw the best in me. And we were able to actually recover, you know, from everything. We lost a lot. But, you know, through God, we're gaining it all back. And then some, you know, because we refuse to give up and refuse to quit. And so, am I answering your question?
Yeah. Yeah, you answered.
Okay. Yeah, so no matter what, we decided to just never give up. So, yeah. That's our ball. That's what I'm sticking to.
Excellent. You both talked about your hard times that you went through, and they were similar. They were the same hard times. Herman added a little bit more to his story, but it coincided with each other. But the main thing is that you said was support, prayer, being there for each other, and knowing that all times are not good. You're going to go through some hard times, but who you have next to you and the things that you do are the things that matter to get you to the next point. Because, Shineka, you said you can go through the valley, but the key thing is you go through. You don't stop in the valley. You don't stop in the hard times. They don't last forever, but as long as you keep walking through, you will get to the other side. And so I can relate because y'all are my family. So I can relate to that story and, you know, during that time and how we felt as a family, it was kind of numbing. I called it a zombie mode. I felt like I was in zombie mode. I'm not sure if y'all felt the same way, if, like you were just existing, and just trying to, some days it was getting through to the next minute. It wasn't, oh, let me take it day by day. Some days were so hard that I need to get through the next minute because the weight that we're carrying is so heavy. And so it's key, family, is key, those that are watching, to make sure that you surround yourself around people that are supporting you, that can be with you during the good times and the bad times, not the ones that are just, you know, there during the good times, yay, cheering you on. No, who is there in your corner when you can't even lift your head up that day? You know what I mean? Or, you know, in life, we have to keep on going. We have to go to work. We have to do all these things. Like Herman, you said, I'm helping all of these other people, and I didn't have time to grieve for myself. But when you went home and laid your head on, you know, on your pillow, you had your wife right there next to you that could hold your hand, that can understand your silence and understand your pain and those things. And so that is really key. And so in that, you talked about your hard times and how you dealt with those hard times. It kind of leads into the next question is, what is your motivation? What's your motivation in life? What's your motivation in your marriage? And what's your motivation kind of just existing in this world today?
You want to answer?
You can answer first.
So this year, I actually got this little slogan or motto that has been something that I've been living to. And this year's motto is being intentional with purpose on purpose. And I think that kind of speaks to how I've always lived, being intentional with purpose on purpose. And everything that I do, there's something behind it. There's some purpose behind it. There's some definition behind it. I have my own internal drive to be great and to have a journey to greatness and to be everything that I can be for everyone that I'm involved with. So my husband, my parents, my siblings, my kids, my friends, the church members, everything. My motivation is to help push them to be the best that they could be, no matter what that looks like and no matter how long it takes. And so my being intentional with purpose on purpose speaks to how I do things, but also how I help others to try to do that same thing. Many scriptures are things that keep me going, keep me grounded and doing things. One of my favorite, and most people know I have several favorite scriptures, but I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you, give you a hope, a future, and an expected end. And that speaks volumes. That's Jeremiah 29:11. And that speaks volumes. That's the thing that whenever you get discouraged, the Lord said he knows the plans that he has. And so even though it may not look like I'm winning, I remember the end of that verse, and it says that I have a hope and a future and expected end for you. And so when I think that things may not be going right, I remember that, or he reminds me of that. So I would say what motivates me most is the Word of God, but also me being intentional with purpose, on purpose, and helping others to do the same.
Excellent.
What she said? No, I feel the same way. As a coach and a pastor and doing other things that we do, you have to believe that what God said is true. And so for me, seeing people and seeing things the way God sees them. Like every day I try to wake up and I say, okay, like even when I pray, I do more listening than I do talking. And I'll just ask God questions like, what do you think about that? What do you think about this person? I know I see this person, this person is smoking crack, doing drugs, sleeping with everybody, doing whatever. But how do you see them? How do you really see that person? And that's what I work with, Okay, I know I'm here. We may be covered in debt, but how do you see me? And that's what I try to bring forth, to help people bring forth, because there's greatness in everybody. I've heard somebody say the wealthiest place on the planet is probably the local cemetery because it's filled with stuff that was never actually done. Right. Dreams that never were realized. And so I try to help people at all times bring out the greatness in them and realize who they were originally created to be. Yeah, so for me.
So I have a question for you on that. You said that you asked God to show you how he sees people. How do you balance out dealing with how he sees people and how they really are? So basically how he sees them, I in my mind, I'm thinking of their potential, of who he's made them to be and who they are right now. So how am I interpreting what you're saying correctly? And when you are in that position, how do you, kind of deal with the person where you're not you're not crippling them because they're not ready to get to that point. So you're kind of dealing with them at their potential, not at who they are. Do you understand what I'm asking?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think a lot of things that a lot of people don't really grasp a lot is the power of a spoken word. You know what I mean? Jesus did it. God did everything he did by speaking. And sometimes it's just a matter of speaking to it. And not a lot of people speak at things and they don't speak to it. And so you speak to a situation. Like case in point, there's a young lady, little girl's cuter than baby shoes. And, I call her, one of my daughters. And she would always come to me every day And she was, well, you know, this person. So finally I just said, look, little girl, you're not to date anybody else. I know, you know, don't date nobody else. You don't. Just stop it. And she was like, what do I need to do? I said, I want you to see those 2 chairs over there? I want you to get both of them and sit down in them. And then what I told her was, and I said, you don't know who you are yet, young lady. So you don't need to be doing any of that. Just stop. And so she said, well, she admitted that she didn't know who she was, basically. And so she said, well, what do I do? And I said, you know, and I figured out she didn't have a father or anything like that. I said, I want you to come to me at least once a day before class, and I'm going to tell you who you are. And so every day, you know, some of it was based on scripture, but I would just tell her who she was. And I can tell you, it took a while, but the her that she is now is a whole lot different than that. And sometimes she would stop by in the middle of what I was doing. And she was like, hey. And I would be like, hey. And I would just say something, call her a name or anything. One day it was never always based on her looks. You know, I think I may have told her she was beautiful once or twice. But after that, you're smart, you're intelligent, you're more than a conqueror, you're this, you're that, you know, and whatever. And you begin to see people's self-esteem and their God-esteem come up. And so sometimes it's just a matter of just encouraging them and giving people back the dignity that life took from them or situations took from them. You know what I mean?
I think too, when you're dealing with people and you're looking at the potential or looking at who God has created them to be, one of the biggest things that's a difference between like what Jesus did and how he handled people and how we tend to handle people today is that Jesus had compassion on a person's situation. And many times we can forget that we could be in that same situation very easily, no matter what it is. And so when we look at, oh, this could be me, how would I want to be handled? Whether that's in a relationship with someone that you may be interested in, or whether that's just someone that you know, you see they're acting one way and they shouldn't be acting that way, you know. But looking at people in the same way that God would look at them and helping them to get to their potential and reminding them of where they should be going, and not getting caught up in what you see.
Yeah, because a lot of people get caught up in putting tags on things and people instead of just, you know, doing what God put. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. One of the things we do.
Excellent.
Got more
Well,
questions?
you talk. Yeah, of course I do. This is an interview. But I'm the host here. How are you going to ask me if I got more questions?
You see what our Christmases are like, right, guys?
I might be the little sister, but I am the host here. You are not going to take control over this show.
Okay, I'll give you the controller back. There you go.
Thank you. So you have talked a lot today about how you poured into others' lives, and I think you mentioned one person that, you know, you looked up to, or several people that you looked up to. Do you have any role models or a role model? And if so, why is that person, or, you know, I would just say one, but speak in general, how you pick a role model and why that you pick that person as a role model.
I pick a role model based on maybe 2 or 3 things, but one of them, first and foremost, is integrity. It is important to me that what you say and what you do line up, and that you don't judge other people by their actions and try to judge yourself by your intentions. What you say and what you do lines up. I think integrity is integrity, even if it costs you something, you know. And when I see somebody who does right, even if it costs them something, you know, I got to go with that person. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the key things: integrity and loyalty. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I pretty much would have to say the same thing when it comes to someone that they're passionate about what they believe in, and that they have integrity. I think that's something that we're both really big on, is integrity, and that they're proven. You know, a lot of people have a lot of stuff to say, a lot of people can come up with some really good cliches and all of that, but are they proven in what they say and in what they do? You know, I've met a lot of people that have these, you know, things that they do, and oh, you should do this and be a part, and oh, this is going to be great in life. But are you proven? Have you stood the test of time in that thing, whatever it is, whether it's business, whatever, you know, people make themselves bigger than life, but are you proven? And that comes from having integrity, and what are you doing when no one else is looking? Are you doing those same things, or are you doing something different?
Because life will tell on you, and life will come to show you what you're really made out of, you know, whether you really believe what you're saying or not. Whenever it comes down to it, like I think about, you know, even our nephew and, you know, and our sons and, you know, even the ones that we've taken on, they've all gone through tough things, especially being athletes. And sometimes whenever it comes down to it and that test comes, of what you're made out of, that endurance test, after you worked all day and then you still have to come home and do homework and everything like that, it costs you something. And so those are some of the things I look for in mentors and role models.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you. So we're going to go with our last question, okay? Oh, this is the last one. Is that okay with you that we have one more?
Yeah, sure.
So the last question would be, let us know what projects you're working on, about Bethel Worship Center, where they can find you, and basically, yeah, that.
So to answer the questions sequentially, we're working on a lot, and we'll go into that in a minute, but Bethel Worship Center is in Chesapeake, Virginia, and we absolutely love people. You don't have to live in Chesapeake to be a part. We do Facebook Live on Sunday mornings. We also have a Facebook page, Instagram page, Twitter page. All of them center around either Bethel _worship or Bethel Worship Center. I think our Facebook page is Bethel. The hyphen is the website. So we have, our website is bethel-worship.org. The Facebook page is Bethel Worship Center Church. Our symbol or our logo is the picture for the Facebook page, for I believe Instagram and Twitter. And all of them are Bethel Worship Center or BWCC in it. So like I said, we're in Chesapeake. You're welcome to join us on Facebook Live. We absolutely love to have you. Our church ministers to everybody that is a person, whether you're an individual, whether you have a family.
You don't minister to the animals?
Yes, because we have animals in our building. I'm just playing, but there are people who have brought their pets to church, Keshia. So I can say that yes, we did. So we do as well. So yeah. They came on tricycles too. Right, exactly. But we minister to those who are hurting. We minister to families. One of our ministries that we see continuing to grow is our food pantry ministry. We give food to those who are in need. Every week, I believe they said we're at about 100 families every week that comes through the food pantry. So
we also have a church plant that we're started in St. Louis, that area. And we have, the chuns, we're going to be going out and installing them. We have a biker ministry that actually works with us, and we'll eventually be planting a biker church. It is really funny to see those guys, huge guys. I mean, I'm talking about, I'm 6'1", 240-something pounds. I look small compared to some of these guys, and they're worshiping. A big old arm up in the air, arm bigger than my head, and they're worshiping. And it's really cool. So we're doing that. We also have Marriage God's Way, and we're doing marriage conferences. We traveled as far as Vietnam and Cambodia. I should have told that story to you. I'll tell you another time. Vietnam and Cambodia. We
we do have a marriage retreat that's coming up. It's June 21st and 22nd. So if anybody is interested, it's for singles and couples. And we have a good time. We have a lot of good speakers. And it's going to be fun. So look it up on marriagegodsway.org.
And last but not least, we also have we do something called Marriage Moments, where we actually come on. A lot of people have been given horrible advice on relationships. I listen to some of it sometimes and almost cringing. I mean, I'm like literally almost tears. I'm like, that is horrible. I can't believe you thought that was good advice. And so we actually do that.
There are videos that'll come on the Marriage God's Way Facebook page and sometimes on Bethel Worship Center Facebook page.
Yeah, and so just recently I issued a challenge based on something that someone said. I heard some people say, some young people, they were saying that they didn't want to get married. And when I listened to their testimonies of what they had saw, I was like, wow, I wouldn't want to get married either if I had saw that much stuff. And and so I tried to tell them, I said, no, there are really some good guys out there, really good men out there. And so I actually issued a Facebook a challenge. You know, they got all kinds of challenges. They got the salt challenge, the sprinkle water on your grandma challenge, you know, all that other stuff. And so I'm like, why aren't there any good challenges like graduate from college challenges or get straight A's in high school challenges? You know, instead of laying around. So anyway, the challenge I issued was I asked all the men who don't cheat to tell their why, like why they don't cheat.
Or if they did.
Or if they did cheat, tell what caused them to stop and you know, and start doing the right thing by their feet. And so I've already seen where a couple of people have actually gone on and have actually done it. Yeah, and so they've actually put a challenge out, and they're challenging other men to say why they decided to be faithful men and not cheat on their families and cheat. Because the theory is your marriage isn't about you. It's about, you know, just you. It's about other things as well. So that's pretty much the gist of it.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, I want to thank y'all for joining today and being my guest. I was about to say our guest. Well, I guess it is. It's a community show, and so people are watching. So you're their guest as well. I will put all of your information in the announcement that we'll have where they can find you, all of your social medias, as well as the link to Marriage God's Way conference that they can sign up and get registered. The conference is for singles, engaged, and couples married. So they'll teach you all of the things that you need to know to take your relationship to the next level. So I do encourage you, if you can get there, to sign up and get there to the conference as well. So with that, I am super, super, super duper excited that y'all joined. We're definitely going to have you back so we can hear some more of your stories and Vietnam and these funny stories about your different versions of how, you know, you met and, you know, how you, but see, that is a good thing because a lot of people think that the other person views it or sees it or experiences it the same way that they did. And so it becomes a conflict versus adapting to this is how you saw it, this is how I saw it, and we're just going to bring it together. So congratulations on that being a strong couple, married couple, because we know in today's society that many marriages don't make it past the first year. And y'all are 20 years and counting, many, 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 many more that you will be blessed. So love you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining. Those that have joined us on Journey to Greatness 2911, as well as those that are watching the rebroadcast. This is Just Thrive, where we interview those that have adapted the Thrive concept. And what does Thrive stand for? Trust the process, highlight all wins, receive guidance, invest in yourself, vacate negativity, and evaluate your goals. And so Herman and Shineka Dixon have just talked about how they are thriving in life, in their marriage, and with their church. With that being said, we are going to end this show. Join us next Tuesday at 9 o'clock, where we'll have another guest. And on Thursdays for Thriving Thursdays, where I come on, just me alone. Yes, I give you key nuggets in your everyday life, how to get through different challenges, different obstacles, and different joys that you might have. So with that being said, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you all that have watched. And please come back and join us again. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, like, subscribe, join, follow, all of those things. And we are out of here. We will see you later. Love you guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye.